What do you know about Buddhism? Do these things look familiar? Let's discuss Buddhism. Let's cover the who, what, when, where, and why of Buddhism. Using a web diagram like this, let's do a quick overview. Basically, we're going to cover who developed Buddhism and who are influential people in history regarding Buddhism. What are the common beliefs and practices in Buddhism? When was Buddhism first introduced as a major world religion? Where on the globe was Buddhism first introduced, and where is it commonly practiced today? And finally, why? Why was Buddhism introduced, and why are people still practicing Buddhism today? Let's go ahead and get started with the who section of our web diagram. So who was the founder of Buddhism? Well, his name was Siddhartha Gautama, who is commonly called the Buddha, which means the awakened one. Let's just refer to him as the Buddha. We know that he lived and taught in India, somewhere between the 6th and 4th centuries BCE. That means before the Common Era. We know that the Buddha was born in the Brahmin caste and led a pretty luxurious life. But he was troubled by the suffering and the misery around the world. By reflection, he figured out that all the suffering and misery was caused by desire. Okay, so we know that the Buddha was the main guy in Buddhism. But who else? Who else should you probably know about? The Dalai Lama. No, not a lama like this guy. He's a spiritual leader in the Tibetan sect of Buddhism, and he is considered to be the reincarnation of the Bodhisattva, or the Buddha to be. You can recognize most Buddhist monks by their orange robes. Here are some examples. Now let's get into the what section of our web diagram. It's going to be the second branch. What are some common practices in Buddhism, and what are at the core of their beliefs? What would you definitely need to know about Buddhism? Well, like we said before, the Four Noble Truths that the Buddha discovered. The first one, life is full of pain and suffering. Secondly, human desire causes this suffering. The third Four Noble Truth. By putting an end to desire, humans can end all suffering. And number 4, humans can end desire by following the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is a set of instructions or moral code to live by. The goal of following the Eightfold Path would be to finally, after years of reincarnation, reach a state of nirvana. Not this type of nirvana, this type of nirvana. Similar to in Hinduism, Buddhists believe that the soul is born again. Buddhists reject the idea of the caste system, but they do believe that your soul is reincarnated endlessly until the soul reaches a state of nirvana, which can be represented by the infinity symbol. Okay, we've covered what the who section and the what section, but now let's talk about the when section, our third branch of our web diagram. When was Buddhism introduced? Let's take a look at this timeline. Notice today, 2013 CE, a common era. Let's look all the way back to where Buddhism was founded. It was after Hinduism, but before Christianity. Try to get an idea of what century we're in and what century Buddhism was started in. That was a long time ago. Now let's take a look at the where section of our web diagram. Where was Buddhism founded? Where in the world is Buddhism common today? Looking at this map, we can see that the Buddha lived and started Buddhism in India, the subcontinent. From there, Buddhism spread all throughout Asia and later on all around the world. Split into different schools with different practices, Buddhism is considered one of the fastest growing world religions, with over 350 million followers worldwide. Okay, let's finish up our web diagram with the why section. Why was Buddhism started? Why is it still practiced today? Well, Buddhism began as a quest to end all suffering. It's popular today because it requires its followers to seek understanding through thought and meditation. Basically, the people are taught how to think, not what to think, in contrast to many other world religions. That's why people really enjoy practicing Buddhism today.